It's not very often you see the Storm Prediction Center have this much confidence in December for a future severe weather outbreak. All the way out there on December 9th, 2023, we already have a 15% chance of significant severe weather down here in portions of Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas. And this little yellow area and the severe weather risk is associated with a much bigger storm that will affect most of the United States during this time period. Between December 8th and December 12th, it's going to be very busy in the weather world. Some of us are going to see severe weather. Some of us are going to see heavy rain, strong winds. Some of us are going to see blizzard conditions. So let's go through this whole weather forecast for the whole week into the weekend here so we can all understand what's going on. Starting off with some short-term stuff for today around noon, we're going to see some scattered showers, maybe a couple rumbles of thunder here in Kentucky down into Tennessee. We've got some lingering heavy snow bands up here in northern Vermont, New Hampshire, up into Maine, a little bit of snow in North Dakota, and some moisture entering portions of the Pacific Northwest as another atmospheric river is about to slam in over there and cause potentially some flooding rains and some mudslides. But for the most part, everyone else is pretty quiet. We're going to see some warm air advection over here in the southwest. So things are going to be getting warm over here, and they're going to be staying pretty cold on the East Coast, at least for the time being. And another little Alberta clipper is going to move through the Ohio Valley as we go into Tuesday and Wednesday, bringing some snow to Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, West Virginia, Pennsylvania. This could put down a very quick accumulation, but nothing really crazy is expected there. And then on, late in the day on Wednesday, it looks like most of the country is going to be experiencing quiet weather. But once again, some really heavy rain is moving into the West Coast, and it's this area of rain that we have to watch very closely. You've heard me talk so much about troughs and ridges in the jet stream, and that's what we're looking at here. This is the 500 millibar wind speed, so way above your heads. This is what the winds look like. They're roaring by as the polar jet is making a visit all the way down into the southeastern U.S. That's why it's so cold up here. And you can see we've got a couple little divots across the jet stream, and that's why we have those little instances of rain and snow showers in the Ohio Valley that we can expect over the next little bit. But watch what happens as we get into Wednesday and Thursday, okay? We've got a huge ridge here in the central U.S. This is going to cause some very warm air to kind of compile here along the Rocky Mountains and to the east into the plains. And we're talking very warm, okay? You can see all of the cool air on the East Coast. The blues and the greens represent where we are going to be anywhere from 10 to 20 degrees below average on December 6th. And then the reds and the dark reds and even into the browns and the whites represent where we could be anywhere from 20 to 40 degrees above average. And look at how that big area of warm air gets lofted into the central plains up into the upper Midwest as well on December 8th. And that is energy that will be there as our next storm system comes in to sweep it out. Once again, all of that heat is being caused by the ridge here, okay? Huge ridge of high pressure. But watch what happens in the west, okay? You can see how that jet stream starts to get a little bit more active here. We're going to see even more rain and snow in the higher elevations in the Pacific Northwest. Once again, this is another instance where we have to watch out for, flash flooding, potentially even some mudslides. But once that storm system gets past the Rocky Mountains, the trough really starts to dig down to the south, and you can see that we've got a major storm system on our hands starting December 9th and moving into December 10th. This is a powerhouse of a trough dipping way down almost to the Gulf of Mexico here, allowing for very warm air to come out in front of it. And then, of course, there's a huge pocket of cold Canadian air inside of it. And watch what happens as I move this even farther into the future as we go into Sunday, December 10th. This is a monster trough. I mean, this is something that we haven't seen in a while here. This is definitely going to be a widespread, impactful storm system. And one of the things that we look for whenever we're trying to predict the severity of a trough like this is the tilt of its axis. So you can see how the bottom of the trough points to the south and east. That means that this is a negatively tilted trough, which is usually associated with stronger storm systems in the United States, because just look at what's happening here. You get that negative tilt, and it just allows for the trough to dig up even more warm air on the eastern side and kind of mix that in with cooler air on the northwestern side in a more efficient way. If the trough was leaning to the right or had a positive tilt, they wouldn't be able to interact with each other as efficiently. So this is going to be a mess of a storm somewhere in the eastern portion of the U.S. What you're looking at here is still 162 hours away, so, this could change, and honestly, it could be a fake storm. A lot of times what I do is I check with the GFS to make sure it's also showing a storm as well, and this one is, and the GFS shows that same trough. Now, it's not as impressive, but it's still there. It's the same timing, and it's still just as large. So this is definitely a real thing. There 100% will be a big storm system occurring on, around December 8th through the 11th or something like that. Now what we've got to figure out are the fine details. One of those fine details is that there's going to be a lot of warm, moist air getting pulled out of the Gulf of Mexico thanks to that big trough, especially on Friday, December 8th and December 9th, where we're going to have a huge cold front come through and swat that warm air out of the way, okay? And that's exactly why we have the slight risk of severe weather down here. Anytime you get very cold, dry air smushing up against very warm, moist air, whenever there's, very strong winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere associated with that, with our trough, you've got a perfect recipe for severe weather. So we're going to be looking out for damaging winds and potentially even tornadoes down there. You can see this very well on the instantaneous flash rate. This shows us where we can expect to see lightning strikes even early in the morning on Saturday, December 9th. We're going to see some thunderstorms possibly over here in Arkansas, Missouri, into western Kentucky. But the real show doesn't start until much later in the afternoon, around 4 p.m. Saturday, December 9th. We could have a very strong squall line of damaging winds and potentially embedded tornadoes moving through Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, maybe even into Mississippi and Tennessee as well. That's going to die off pretty quickly, though, as we go into the overnight and early morning period on Sunday. And I think as we go later in the day on Sunday and into Monday, we are going to have thunderstorms associated with this storm system all across the East Coast, but they will be mostly heavy rain and kind of wind focused. I don't think they're going to be very strong thunderstorms. A lot of that warm Gulf energy is going to be eaten up back here and not transmitted up to the north and east. But that does not change the fact that this is going to be a very impactful storm for all of us, okay? Let's take this one day at a time here. Thursday, December 7th, we're going to be getting a lot of snow up here in the Northwest, especially in the Pacific Northwest. If you're in the Cascades, this is going to be a rough period with high winds, heavy rain, and of course, just feet of snow in the very high elevations. Once all that moisture gets past the Cascades and starts to dive down into the Rockies, you can see very clearly the trough is going to be evident here in just the cold temperatures that are going to be sinking down into the western portions of the U.S. You can also see the very moist air coming out in front of it as well already with storms on December 9th. But watch how quickly this thing evolves into much more than just a severe weather maker, okay? On December 10th, you can see that we've got a massive cold blast diving down all the way into Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. We're going to be below freezing way down here in the southern portion of this trough. We're going to be much below freezing up here into Minnesota and North Dakota. You can see how some heavy snow is trying to break out on the backside of this in Missouri, Illinois, potentially even Wisconsin. And this is associated with a 990 millibar low pressure center. So wherever this actually does set up on the backside, there is going to be blizzard conditions, okay? We're talking about 30, 40, 50 mile an hour winds, heavy blinding snow, blowing sideways and all that good stuff. This is going to be, in every sense of the word, a big snowstorm, but we don't know for sure where exactly that's going to happen yet. It could very well be right in this area. Tomorrow the models might move everything to the east or back to the west. We don't know exactly where the snowstorm is going to happen yet, but just know that I'm pretty confident that we're going to be tracking this thing all the way through the time period it actually happens this weekend into early next week. And just look at all that cold air race into the Ohio Valley, okay, and the Northeast as we go into Monday, December 11th. This is going to be one heck of a rainstorm over here in New England as well, with some strong winds. I don't think they're going to be severe thunderstorms, but man, that's going to be a impactful system for some of the more populated areas of the country over there as this thing ejects off to the north and east. And then by the time we get to Tuesday, December 12th, we're just going to be left with some cold air, and then we'll be right back at where we started pretty much. So once again, this is what the Euro currently says about this storm. It's easy to kind of get lost and these colors and trying to pick out where your home is and what you think's going to happen where you live. I'm telling you, it's a waste of time right now. Just wait a couple days. We're going to have more data. We're going to have a better forecast as we approach maybe the Tuesday, Wednesday time period. This is a good guess at what could come of this storm, but I'm telling you, the exact placement of the snow is not something that we can pinpoint right now. Just know that this is something we are watching as we go forward. And speaking of snow, you guys have absolutely been tearing up the website over at shopryanhall.com. I couldn't thank you enough for that. It allows us to do what we do and go live and send storm chasers out there and all that stuff. I just wanted to remind you that we do have more Yalimeters in stock, and if we start getting snowstorms like this, we're going to start going live and doing our giveaways. So here's a shout out to today's sponsor, myself. As we approach peak snow season, we are preparing to go live during every single big snowstorm right here on YouTube. We're going to have storm chasers on the ground. We're going to be in contact with local road crews and everything you could possibly need to stay up to date whenever that next big snow or ice storm hits. But a very big part of our snow coverage includes you. That's why I have developed the Yalimeter 2.0. This thing is the most capable snow measuring device on the market. It's big, it's bright, it's beautiful, so it pops whenever you take those snow measurement photos. It's very pleasing to the eye and easy to read, and it even gets the kids into measuring snow. And it allows us to tell the story of every snowstorm by creating a huge database of accurate snow reports. It also just so happens to be how we raise money to invest in storm chasers, scientific probes, and other special equipment for our severe weather live coverage in the spring. So if you'd like to help out and join in on the fun this winter, go ahead and go to shopryanhall.com right now and get yourself a Yalimeter 2.0. Just like last year, we're going to do a bunch of fun competitions with the Yalimeters during our live coverage. Just as long as you send in a snow measurement photo during one of our snow streams, you're going to be entered to win $1,000 at the end of that stream. That's right, I'm going to be giving you $1,000 for measuring the snow. And this year, instead of just giving one person $1,000 at the end of the stream, we're going to give two people $1,000. And guys, there could be like 10 to 20 snowstorms this year, so the odds are in your favor. All you got to do is click that link at the very top of the description and get you a Yalimeter over on shopryanhall.com. I'm excited for our coverage this year, and I'm so happy that so many of you want to be involved. And I can't thank you enough for giving myself and the team here literally the best job in the world. So that's all I got for you today. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. Ooh.